welcome back to Nourish Your Brand. I'm Isa, your host and brand chef from Studio Koya. In this show, I serve up what your business craves to help you turn it into a brand that you're super confident and super proud of. We're talking strategies, insights, and golden nuggets of wisdom to nourish your brand so you can attract and connect with your dream clients. And today, I am serving up something super special because this is my very first guest episode. And joining me today is the brilliant Ceels Lockley. She's an offer strategist, business mentor, and all around genius when it comes to crafting offers that actually work. She helps female and non binary service providers ditch the stage fright and sell with confidence. If you've ever struggled with shaping an offer that actually works for you and one that doesn't burn you out, constantly change, or feel like a mishmash of ideas, Ceels is here to dish out her best insights. We're diving into how she's built her business around doing what she loves and why cheap is not a sales strategy, and how to create an offer lineup that makes sense for both you and your clients. So grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's get into it.
Great. I'm so happy to have Ceels here to be my first guest on my podcast. And we're going to be talking about how she nourishes her brand and how she helps nourish other people's brands as well. So welcome, Ceels. So good to have you here.
Thank you, Isa. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So first part of the episode is that we're going to talk about how you nourish your own brand. Well, question here for you. So first off, how have you shaped and refined your own offers to keep your business sustainable and fulfilling for yourself?
Am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Number one thing that I've definitely done, and this is really in the last 3 years, is I have stopped fucking around and finding out. And I think this is a really important step in my nourishment of my brand, is that I have taken a more intentional route. And I spent a long time in that sort of FAFO mode. And I think just getting very clear on my audience, getting clear on my skill, niching down in air quotes. But mostly, I think really focusing on creating an ecosystem for my offers and my services so that everything became more streamlined and I was not doing all of the things, and I was really focusing on creating a signature offer and getting my process down so that I could build a brand being known for one thing and having offers that don't change every 5 minutes, that they are very much the thing that I'm known for as well. So I think those are the main things that have kind of helped with that nourishment piece.
Amazing. So how did you come about, because obviously you are an offer strategist, you're amazing at what you do. How did you do it for yourself? I know sometimes it's, doing things for yourself is the hardest thing to do. What was your process in going through figuring out what your signature offer was and looking at your own offer lineup?
Yeah, I think so. Again, going back to my sort of fucking around finding out, in initial stages, I was pivoting from being a very generic business mentor for freelancers, which I did for a long time, but then I felt like I was being too generic and I wanted to kind of get more specific, take my own advice. And I think that first step really was deciding on what I wanted to get better at. Because I think even when we are experts, even when we have lots of experience and we have lots of skills and we know our stuff, we can always be better at what we do. And I think that often when we are trying to specialize and sort of get more, expert in our approach, we kind of question ourselves, and this is where the identity crisis and the imposter syndrome comes up. We think that we're doing something wrong. We're like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I don't know enough. It's like, no, you're not going to know enough. And I had this whole identity crisis thing in about 2022.
Yeah.
You're not actually going to know enough until you've done the work, until you've put the reps in. So if you're going to say, right, I really enjoy doing, and this is me, I decided I really enjoyed helping people design their packages and their offers. It was something I kept getting asked to do with my mentoring clients. And I was coaching lots of different freelancers and they were all asking me these same questions. I was like, hang on a minute, I love doing this. I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to do everything else. I want to get known for this one thing. And so it was almost a case of really leaning into it but also knowing I don't know everything. I haven't got all the answers for
Mm,
this. I love doing it. I know enough to make this my thing, but I also need to get better at it. And I think that committing to that sort of uncomfortable feeling of I need to learn more. I need to create my own methods and my own ways of doing things. And that journey of like figuring out what worked for myself as well as what would work for my clients was very important. And that obviously took,
mm.
3 years.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. I love how you use the words leaning in, because I love using that as well in terms of for branding. Because I'm like, you got to lean into what you're good at. Or like you said, your clients have been asking for it. You love doing it. So why wouldn't you go in on it? And of course, it's what you said about imposter syndrome and like not knowing. And it's like, oh, do I go all in? Um, and I think it also speaks to like, working it out, and you're saying that it takes 3 years. Like these things do take time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to decide one day and then I'm going to be the best at it. And that's okay. And you're done. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this misconception, isn't there, that when we pivot, it's just like, oh, great, we've jumped, everything's great. It's just going to be like we're going to have this whole new, you know, identity success over. Like if you see somebody pivoting and then seeming like they're having that overnight success, that's because they've been working behind the scenes for a really long time on that pivot, or they've been, really going through a lot of uncomfortable shit to get to that point. Very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, definitely. And how have you found the shift going from the generalist to a specialist now?
Well, now I can be like, oh, it's great. Obviously, everything's great. But definitely the shift was hard, and I'm not going to dress it up. It was very difficult because I am a multi-passionate, very creative, multidisciplined as well. I spent my whole career in marketing, working, in every single aspect of marketing. So email,
Yeah.
design, copywriting, production, strategy. Like I can do all of those things really well, but being a multi-passionate person is not a business model. It's not your
Mm,
business is not where you should like try and express yourself too much. Like I always get a bit like people get a bit like, oh no, on my business I like to express myself, and I'm like, cool. And I'm sure as a branding person you also have thoughts on this, but we must be really careful that we don't start trying to channel all of our creativity through our business, because we've got to remember it's a business. And so really having to let go and like really let that shit go. I am not letting go of my multi-passionate, multidisciplined identity. I'm simply just getting more at the business end of things with my specific audience, with my specific marketing, with my specific messaging. Doesn't mean to say that I've lost all my, purpose in life.
that is so cute. I love that. Yeah, that's just such a great way to put it, and how, focus doesn't mean that you lose everything else. And I also think focus makes you better at certain things, and it also probably adds to the other things that you're passionate about as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what are the biggest lessons you've learned about what you do, and like, doing it for yourself and now doing it for others?
Yeah. So in terms of offer strategy, offer lineups, kind of my main lessons, I think well, there's a few. The first one is that cheap is not a sales strategy. Um, very early on in my sort of when I was just on the verge of specializing, I was still running a membership that was very, very accessible. And it had
Yeah.
really bad take up, and it was not making any money. And this whole notion that if you make something cheap so people are going to buy it is not necessarily a sales strategy. And I think that one of the big mishaps that people come across is cheapening themselves. And so one of the things I'm really big about is we've got to stop undercharging as service
Mm,
providers. Stop undercharging, stop over delivering. You have value. You might not see it
mm,
yourself, but other people do. And so I think for me, like really identifying where I was going wrong with pricing, and actually then developing a pricing model that works for me and all of my, hundreds of clients that have used it now. A couple of other things. Keeping your offers simpler than you think. So I've always been, multi-passionate, like, let's just do this.
yeah.
And I actually worked with a coach way back when who was very much that kind of person, and her influence really didn't help because she was creating new things every 5 minutes. And so I was, and it was just, it was exhausting. This is like way back in boss babe era, right? 2018, 19 kind of time. And it's so exhausting. So just keep your offers simpler than you think. I really love that I don't have loads of offers. I love
Yeah.
that I know exactly what each of my offers does in relationship to each other, and that
Mm.
you're not having to launch something new every 5 minutes. Stick to the plan, stick to what you're
Yeah.
doing, and make that the focus and make that better.
Mm.
And then, I think the other one is probably around confidence and backing your offers. I've been through stages with my offers, my existing offers and my past offers where I just didn't back them enough. And so when I tried to launch them or sell them, oh, really strange thing happened. They didn't sell. And this is what happens if you're not fully behind it. If you haven't got that, you've got to have that conviction, right? If you don't have the confidence
Yeah.
and conviction for your clients that your offer is the absolute best solution for them, they're not going to buy it. And so I definitely went through that and have been through that several times. Whenever that's happening, I always find the best thing to do is to simply just get really in the weeds of your offer and your delivery and figure out what's not sticking, what's not working, and really, really work on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Just going back to your first point, I love that you said, don't underprice yourself, because it doesn't, like you said, it's not doing anything for yourself because obviously you're being underpaid. So, well, you're not gonna, well, if you're doing business, you're just literally trying to sell stuff for selling stuff's sake, and you're also really not helping your clients that are buying from you either, because when you undercharge, sometimes they undervalue what you do and then they don't do it. They just buy it and it sits on the shelf. Or, they don't try to get as much as they can out of it just because the perception thing isn't quite there and they're not connecting the value with the monetary with the money that they paid for it. So I find that very, very interesting, especially like you said, when you have a pricing model and when you're looking at offers as well, like how they all work together. And when you look at lineups for your clients and for yourself, like, do you take that into consideration in terms of like accessibility and like what clients kind of say? Sometimes clients are, oh, I want something accessible for the people who can't afford my higher ticket things. Like, what are your thoughts around that?
It's really important that your offers each have a role. And I think that the mistake people make is they try and create something accessible as the first, almost like their first offer, or indeed it's sort of something that they give a bit too much attention to. And so my approach is always to say, look, we've got to focus on your three core offers, right? I call them the warm up, the headliner, and the after party, right? That's basically an entry offer, signature offer, and some kind of upsell. It could be a retainer, which I actually call an encore, but we won't split hairs. But those three core offers are where you really want to be focusing your attention. And those three core offers, if you're a service provider or you're a coach, you have an online business, those three services are not where we start being accessible, because that's where you need to make most of your revenue. And it's simple maths. If you make your offers too accessible, they're not going to make you enough money. So go back to, I mean, if you only want to make 2K a month, like fine. Like if honestly, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. If your offers can live and exist and scale in a way that makes you 2K a month and that's all you need, great. But most people do need to get real about how much money they actually want to make. And this is the misstep. It's like you want to make 100K, but your offers are only generating 50. And so what we do when we look at that lineup is we look at how those offers are actually generated, almost like acting like little businesses of their own. And so when you start bringing in that accessible offer, I'm going to be questioning and going, well, why is that sitting there? Like, what is that doing in the buyer's journey? But also, where does that sit in terms of your revenue? Because it's all very well having a $15 or £15 an hour, £15 an hour, £15 product offer, etc. But that isn't necessarily, unless it's part of a journey in your ecosystem, that's not necessarily going to make you very much revenue unless you've got a huge audience. So we're always thinking about, really, we're thinking about what is the purpose of this offer and how much revenue is it driving and where does it sit in the business model?
Yeah, I love that way of thinking about it, because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I need more audience, I need more growth, I need more people. And one of the reasons is because they have the lower priced accessible products. So really you need such a massive audience to get a good chunk of revenue from it. And that's what they concentrate on, and trying to get that volume instead of, like you said, working on the signature offer and making sure that that's where the money is made, and concentrating on that and selling those.
Yeah, and let's do some really simple maths on this, right? You would have to sell an incredible amount of those £15 offers to make the same revenue that you make on your signature offer. And the other thing that I really find incredible is people think it's easy to sell low ticket. I've sold a lot of I've sold a lot of high ticket offers, and I've sold less low ticket offers. The reason is it's much easier to sell high ticket, and this is a money mindset thing. People think, oh, well, I can't possibly charge that much. Nobody's going to pay that much. When we focus on communicating the value of our offers and we create that positioning piece that calls those right people in, they will want to pay more. They actually don't want your cheap little offer. They don't want it. Like, the right person doesn't need the cheap thing. They actually want not even expensive, but they want the investment piece, right? So that's always something I think is really interesting. People are like, no, I can't sell it that much. People only want no, they don't want the cheap stuff. They want the investment, and they want the transformation.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing there. They want the good stuff. They want something that can change their business, whatever they're doing and whatever they're working with you for. So yeah, that's great. And then on the simplicity piece, I love that you said that, be simple. Like, what are you good at? And just do that and do it well. And I fall into this trap myself. And I'm also still thinking about my own offers. And I'm like, oh, I need that conviction. And now that you've said it to me, I'm like, yeah, I probably will need to look at that again. How did you approach getting that conviction for yourself when you were like, I'm going in and just doing it? I've decided now. Because you mentioned you were more of a generalist before.
Yeah, I think one of the things I did, and this is something I advise for somebody who's kind of leaning into a new area of expertise and wants to double down, is I only really focused on my signature offer for the first year. It was originally called Offer Suite Oracle, and I literally just poured my heart into that offer to understand the best way to help a client to build out an offer suite and how that needed to function as a delivery. Also I did it 50, 70 times one-on-one with people before I then took it to a group. Again, this is about putting your reps in. As somebody who's building expertise, you've got to keep practicing, you've got to keep refining. And it's about simplification of the process. You don't need to do more, you just need to do it better. And I think the conviction came when I realized that actually, if I just did better and I just got better at doing the thing and I practiced it, that would give me all the confidence I needed to then turn that into something that was, more of a high quality, finished transformation.
Yeah. I think it's yeah, you're right. Getting the reps in, just making sure you're comfortable with it. It's also not changing too much all the time, like you said right at the beginning, when you think you need to change it because, oh, it's not working because I tried it once. And being able to see what the reps are doing and what you're learning from it is also, I think, such a key thing. I kind of blended this second and the third point because then you'll start getting the conviction, the confidence to actually go for it.
That's it. And I think there's a really interesting point here I've been talking to people about this week in my challenge, because I'm doing a free challenge. It's all about expertise. And one of the things that keeps coming up, and it's super interesting, is around we think that to get more confident, we have to start taking messy action, and that we have to just go do the thing. And I always come back to, no, wait. Like before you start trying to lift the weights and do the reps, make sure that you're lifting the right weights, because you can't actually get confident and you can't build expertise if you don't actually know what the hell it is you're putting out there. And I think this is where people have confused this whole take messy action with just doing something. And unstrategic messy action is the worst messy action.
Yes, so true. I'm so on board with that comment. Amazing. So, how do you nourish other people's brand? What's your process for helping people create their offer line? And do you see anything where like a lot of people are maybe doing a little bit of the wrong things when you look at how they put their offer line up together?
Yeah. So, I mean, in very basic terms, the way that I nourish people's brands is to take what they're doing, which is usually sales. I'm doing this thing, it's kind of working, but I want it to be better and I want to get more refined and more specific. And I want my offers to feel like juicy and lovely. And I want to be able to sell them and just know that they are exactly what my clients need. That's usually where I'm, coming in and I'm nourishing and I'm helping with positioning and messaging, and we're working on offer design and we're thinking about scope and we're thinking about pricing. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of layers that goes into it. But where most people do go wrong is, well, there's actually quite a few things. The first one is just rigidity. There's this sort of rigidity that I see, especially people coming from corporate. They'll come to me and their services are so boring and often created as well from their own assumptions. Like they'll assume that people want to do things in a certain way without having done any research or really speaking to their people, or they won't even know really who their people are. Maybe they've got loads of offers. I see this a lot with social media managers and people sort of who've been in the online space quite chronically and have kind of almost, I call it Pokemon syndrome, where you've collected every different type of offer. So you've got a VIP day, you've got a power hour, you've got an intensive, you've got a group program. Like they've got all of the offers and nothing is strategic. It's just like they've collected them like little Pokemon. And I love it's such a problem. Like I see it so much. The other thing is a lack of journey. So a lot of the time there is no connection between the services or the offers, whether it's here are my services or here's my more developed offers. There's no connection. And that's what really is an ecosystem, is creating a buyer friendly journey that enables people to move through your services over time and actually develop with you. And this is great for retention. This is great for creating impact. This is great for your brand. You don't want people one and done with you. You want to kind of keep them going. And then I think the other mistake is really just because there's so much advice out there now and everyone's talking about methods and branding and theming. I see a hell of a lot of gizmos and gimmicks in people's offers, which don't make sense. Like it's just it's kind of over designed. And it's not strategic. It's like, oh, I came up with an offer. I gave it a cool name. I don't really know what that means. I just like it. I like this theme. Like you talk about this as well. Like you got to start that theme from a place of strategy. So there are many things, but those are some of the top things I see. So
yeah. I mean, the first one, the rigidity thing, really hit home for me because I have been trying to shoehorn some sort of a retainer in my own offer lineup. And then after a little while, like I was like, oh, maybe I'll do it this way, or I'll tweak it so then it's maybe not called a retainer. So then my brain will be tricked into not thinking it's a retainer. And then at the end of the day, it's still a retainer. So I'm like, I have to stop. You do not want to do retainer work in the traditional way that retainers are done. So don't do them. So I have taken your advice from our previous interactions and I'm like, that's not what I'm doing. I am nixing it until something comes to me that makes sense to me. So you were mentioning like from their point of view, they weren't understanding what their clients wanted and how their clients wanted to work. But also I think sometimes it's like, look inwards as well. And it's just like, well, if you don't want to work this way, why are you forcing yourself to do it?
Yeah,
it won't work. Like you can resent it.
That's it. It's a sort of instrument of torture in a way, we think we've got to do something a certain way, or there's like a, I hear this a lot, like, oh, this is how things are done in my industry. And I'm like, well, you don't have to do, like, it's your own business. Like, you don't have to do what the
Yes.
industry says. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And
Yeah.
actually, what you were just saying there about, realizing that wasn't what you really want, how you really wanted it to feel and what you wanted to do is so key. Because actually one of the first places I ever start with my clients is, what are your needs? Like, what do you want? What is your like non-negotiable needs in business? And if your offers are being designed from a place of, well, so and so said I have to do it like this, or this is the best way. I mean, that's the other thing. This is not a one size fits all. All of your offer ecosystems should be different, like unique, all about, bringing in all of those things that you do in such an individual way. So there's never it's this specific, shape and size and what have you. There's no pressure.
Yeah. This isn't going to force you to do it a certain way.
No, we're not sticking round square pegs into round holes even. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And I love what you mentioned about the buyer's journey, like just having a journey for people to go through it just makes the experience a lot better when someone comes into your world, doesn't it? It just helps them see you and see your expertise of what you do and follow through, and follow your journey and see how you can help them. And so I think that's really interesting.
I think it's really about showing you care as well. The reason why that works so well, because it shows that you're not just like, I'm selling some shit on the internet, come and buy it. It's very much saying, that sounded just like my daughter, by the way. 6. I was like, oh God, that's scary. But very much people want to feel like you consider them and you know what they need. And I think that the best offer ecosystems are where I call it like interconnecting rooms. It's almost like, imagine you're going into somebody's brand world and you're going in the rooms and there's a room for everything. It's like you're at the most beautiful spa hotel. And you're, oh, I can go in this room. Oh, I want to go in here. What's in here? Like, you poke your head around the door. Oh, you're offering a massage. Brilliant. I'll come in here. And then next, I'm going to go get some lunch. Brilliant. That's my favorite food. Oh, I need that. I need you to help me sort out my, whatever back problem. So constantly thinking about and anticipating in our offers, what do your clients need next? So that you're always taking care of their needs and you're supporting them. It's never about upselling for upselling's sake. We don't want to do that. We want everything to fit and for it to be a really streamlined and organic journey.
Considered was the word that really stood out to me there. And also, it's like you said, it's just like, keep it simple. Stop complicating things.
Exactly.
And then the strategy piece. I mean, I see this all the time in branding, and I'm sure you see it all the time in offer lineups and offer strategy as well. It's like, what are you doing it for? And like, what is this going to do to help you reach your goal? I think that's a piece that people often forget when they see a shiny new thing. It's like, oh, I want an offer lineup. This looks cool. Like, I want to build a suite for myself. But then, like you said, it comes in all different shapes and sizes. How do you want to work it? Like, I think that's just something really interesting for people to take away and think about, for sure. Like the theming, like choosing an offer, whether it's a low ticket, high ticket, retainer, all that stuff. Needs a purpose. Thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much nuance to it as well. I hate to say it's complicated, but it's not as, I think people, and this is me really defending my my expertise here, because I think sometimes, and I see this a lot, people are like, oh, I got my copywriter to come up with my offers. And I'm like, really? Because a copywriter will come up with some nice words for you, and maybe they'll come up with a little bit of a strategic angle on things, but but offer strategy is deeper than we think, and we assume it's just a bunch of like services and ideas and names and deliverables, but it's so much more. It's your business model, it's how your numbers work, it's how you're messaging or positioning your like what you actually want to get known for all slots together. It's like a very highly layered cake with lots of ingredients. And I know you love talking about food, Isa, so I definitely
Yeah,
had to get
love
cake
it.
in there somewhere. But absolutely not a kind of quick job to delegate to someone because you know this is your business, this is your livelihood.
Yeah. Yeah. So very true. So many things to consider. And there's so many different realms that can be related. And I think people sometimes confuse one thing for another. And I think it's like you mentioned, like when I see you working on offer lineups and I've seen you coach other people as well and like help people through and help me through some of my stuff as well. It's like this is the foundation. It sets everything else up, right? Whether it's your messaging, whether it's your positioning, whether it's your branding, it's like, where are you building it from and where do you want to take it? Knowing what your offers are is such a huge step. And it's almost like a shortcut because then you don't have to bumble your way through to figure it out and then change everything else at the same time. And yeah, like trying to
We don't want the bumbling.
I'm thinking about the Sleeping Beauty cake now. It's like holding it up by the mop with the mop, trying to live. Amazing. Cool. Last question for you. What's your top tip for someone who wants to refine their offer lineup?
I'm going to be annoying and have like a few. Just what Isa was saying, don't touch, and this is me being very pep talky, big sistery, do not touch your offers, branding, or copy until you know exactly who you're trying to reach. So you need to get specific on who you're trying to target. You cannot be everything. You don't sell everything for everyone. So what do you do? That is the specificity piece, I think, is such a missed opportunity. And people start with like, I need to do my copy, and then it will all, like you say, bumbling through. If you bumble to the wrong step, you're going to have to go back. So just start with positioning. And we always start with positioning. Whenever I work with a client, that is where we begin. And then it's offers. And then you can, once you've got your offers, sure, go theme them, go brand them, go you get your copy, like do your messaging, but do not do anything until you know who you are targeting.
Yeah, that's great first. That's always what I do with my clients first. Even when they worked with other professionals, say, oh yeah, I've done my strategy, but I still need to know and I need to hear it from the horse's mouth just to make sure we're always on the same page. And if we need to tweak anything, to make sure the branding works. So, and I always have to understand what they're offering as well, because otherwise, who are we trying to sell to? I have no idea. So, definitely start there. What are your
Well, so many. I mean, in terms of refinement, if you're refining something that already exists, just ask yourself some really important questions. Like we were saying earlier, what do you enjoy doing? What do you not enjoy doing? What are your clients asking for that doesn't exist in your current lineup? Where are those gaps and opportunities? Because you might think you just need, to do an audit, a strategy, and a retainer, but I can guarantee there is something missing in what you're doing, whether it's that you're not bundling up in the right way, whether you're overscoping stuff, whether your price is way too low and you need to increase that price, but also improve the quality of the scope. And this is where offer strategy gets a lot more in the realms of client experience a lot of the time. I am always going to be looking at, okay, don't just tell me what your idea is, but what is that scope of work? What underneath? Like, what is that deliverable? Like, why are you doing that piece, that very detailed little piece? So get in the weeds of the offers and think about the pieces which, maybe just need a bit of a glow up. And a final tip for refining your offers is to really focus on creating something that you would be happy to keep, this is the bit people don't like, sorry. Focus on creating something so good that you would be happy to do it on repeat for a long, long time, right? So make it good, make it exciting for yourself. So one of the things about enjoyment is, I think people confuse enjoyment with, or even they think that they have to enjoy everything in business, including their offer delivery. Being bored is actually a sign that you're doing things right. And you can get comfortable with repetition. That's a really strong sign that you're building expertise, because you're going to get better and better and better repeating the same thing over and over again and refining it. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to build something that you have to repeat, and don't be afraid of that discomfort, because that is a really strong indicator that you are creating something that is valuable and scalable.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that sounds great. Like for me, it's like, yeah, you want to just do it over and over again. It's like your offers. Why would you change it up if it's good? It's more about making it better over time and changing things over time to evolve it into something that you can stand behind, rather than changing it into something new every time. Which comes right back around to the thing that we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah,
Right.
love the full circle moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell the people where they can find you, how they can work with you, if you have anything coming up that they can check out if they want to work with you.
Thanks, Isa. So you can come and find me on Instagram. Ceels.Lockley is my handle. I'm also on Threads a lot. So hop on over there, and I talk a lot on Threads. My website is ceelslockley.co, and I am about to enroll on the 26th of February. I'm rolling again for my offer design school, Dreamium, which is where you can come in and work on designing and pricing and positioning your expertise into a Dreamium offer lineup. So those 3 core offers that you want to develop and refine, you can do those in Dreamium over 6 months. And it's a just really fantastic program with a lot of intention and accountability to get those offers upgraded, updated, and using all of the tools, frameworks, and methods that I've been talking about today that sit behind the scenes of my process.
Amazing. Yeah, so go and check Ceels out. Thank you so much, Ceels, for being my first guest.
Thank you.
And to have had you on.
So honoured.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Isa.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. A huge, huge thank you to Ceels for being my very first guest on Nourish Your Brand. What a conversation. So from refining your offer lineup to pricing with confidence, there was so much gold in this chat. If you're ready to craft an offer lineup that feels intentional, profitable, and truly aligned with you and your business, her program Dreamium could be the thing that you need. So go take a look. I'll pop all her details in the show notes. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I have got good news. This is just the beginning. I'll be bringing on a brilliant guest every month to dive into juicy topics and business conversations and how you can nourish your brand with their expertise. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. I would love to hear what resonated with you the most. So come find me over on Instagram at Studio Koya, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep nourishing your brand, and I'll see you in the next episode.